Welcome to my channel. You can't see, but in front of me there's a whole bunch of plants on this current table that need to be repotted. I'm hesitant about repotting plants in the winter just because it's already a stressful enough environment for them in the winter, as far as like the dry heat that comes through the vents or the lack of sunlight that they would normally get. However, they've just really outgrown their pots and they need to be replanted. And I don't know about you, but this is something that I personally would like to watch on YouTube. So I figured, why not videotape it and see if anybody else would be interested in it. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. If that's not your type of video, then I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because I don't know, I couldn't think of anything. These are the names of the plants and the ones that we're going to be repotting. Sorry if I mispronounce any of them. I'm not a plant expert. I'm just like intermediate to beginner, and I have been dealing with houseplants now for about a year and a half. Also, I apologize, I do have a fish tank behind me, so there might be some fish tank noises. The first plant that I'm going to be repotting is a Philodendron Cobra. Its mature size is around 3 to 5 feet tall. This is a medium level plant to grow, and it prefers bright indirect sunlight. This plant itself I actually got from one of my coworkers, and as you can see now, it is very healthy, aside from a little dust here and there. The next plant that I'm going to be repotting is called the Polka Dot Begonia. This plant gets 18 to 24 inches tall. It is from Brazil. Direct sun can cause the plant's leaves to scorch, and if you look really closely, you can see a couple scorched areas here and there from the plant light that I actually ordered, that I've been using during the winter months. And it just took a little trial and error to get this plant to settle into the light without me burning the leaves. I was able to finally get it to the proper setting as to where the leaves stopped burning, but the plant continued to maintain healthy and to grow. This plant I also got from the same coworker actually, and I believe when I got it, it was just one leaf. The next plant that I'm going to be repotting is called a golden pothos. Now this is one of my absolute favorite plants. I love the light leaves and like the dark polka dot look on them that they have. I bought it from a local plant store in my area. It just pops out leaves like you wouldn't believe. Very low maintenance. I literally do nothing to it and it just thrives and loves me. The next plant I'm going to be repotting is called a, sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Guiana chestnut, otherwise known as a money tree. I probably really butchered that name, not intentionally. This one I bought, well actually I got delivered to my house from Home Depot. My spouse bought it for me as a surprise just because I'm very into plants. This one can get from 6 to 8 feet indoors. So as you can tell, it's still very much a baby. I would love for it to be 6 feet tall, like then I can really like hug it like the tree hugger that I am. This plant I absolutely love because I literally do nothing to it. It just sits in the same spot on my dresser in my bedroom that it's sat on since I received it. The spot where it sits gets zero sun, like absolutely no sun at all. The next plant that I'm going to be repotting is called a spider plant. I actually have another plant of this. I call it, it's twin. But the other one, for some reason, it's been in exactly the same soil, exactly the same pot. It's been in exactly the same window, and I water them the same and do everything to them absolutely the same. This one is thriving and it is huge, and the other one only has like 4 leaves on it. The next plant I'm going to be repotting is actually the newest addition to my plant collection. What ended up happening is I had a pot that had 3 succulents in it. I watered them, everything was doing great, and then for whatever reason I forgot that I watered them, which is why I then ended up getting an app that tells me when I need to water my plants. But I forgot that I already watered them, and I watered them again like twice in the same week, which obviously you're not supposed to do with succulents. And so out of those 3, the 2 cactuses and the other one that I had, the other one did die, unfortunately. To add to the succulent pot that I have, I needed to obviously buy another plant. So this is a plant that I got to replace the other one that unfortunately passed away. This one's called a tiger jaws. I recently bought this one maybe like a couple days ago. I do notice, like now looking closer to it, that it does have part of it is like falling off, and I guess that's how it was when I purchased it. The next plant I'm going to be repotting is called a Domino peace lily. It can get up to 6 feet tall outdoors or 4 feet tall indoors. I love that about plants that can get that tall. This comes from the rainforest of Central and South America. Beautiful, beautiful plant. And those are the plants I'm going to be repotting. As far as the soil goes that I got, I mean, please don't judge me as I'm, you know, not made of money. But I did just get soil that I've used in the past that seems to really work for me and for my style and for the plants. It seems like they do really well on it. For this first plant, I was thinking, because the only empty containers that I have right now are like huge containers, which is like, this is a pretty decent, well, maybe you can't tell, but this one is substantially bigger. So I'm not going to be putting it in anything like that. So I think maybe it's best if I put it in a planter that's currently already has a plant in it. So I'm thinking I'm going to put it in here. So first I'm going to have to repot this one in order to repot this into this pot. I'm thinking maybe I could repot it in this planter or this pot. It's a little bit, just a tad bit bigger. My dog really likes it when I like do any sort of planting because of the smell of the soil. So it's like hard to keep her away. Alright, so when I repot a plant, I normally, obviously since it's going in a bigger pot, I normally line the bottom of the pot with some soil. Not sure if that's the correct way, but it has worked thus far for me. And then this is the part I didn't think about, like when I bought this container, is how I'm going to get like a plant that's thriving out of this type of container. So that part's going to be interesting, trying to like get this out of here. So I think I'm just going to like attempt to loosen the soil with like damaging it without damaging anything. It's not like the typical size pot because it's not circular, and I got it obviously because I was like a beginner and I thought it looked cool that I could, and I liked it as a beginner having a clear pot like this or a clear planter. I don't know what you want to call it, I just call them pots, but I liked having a clear one because of the fact that then I could see how the roots themselves were doing, if they were getting too much water. I do know if the roots get exposed to sunlight, it can like damage them. But this one has been sitting in a window ever since I got it now, and there has been no damage to any of the roots, as you can clearly tell. I just wanted to real quick show you guys why I am doing this video. If you look on the bottom, not that I normally like stare at the bottom, but you can see how root bound it is getting. It is still thriving, but all of those are obviously going to be ending up in this soil. I was able to get it out, transferring it to the new pot. I was able to get it out, and it looks like a lot of the roots are very, definitely very root bound. So I'm sad about that. I'm sad that that plant had to go through that. No fault of its own other than me. Not necessarily being neglectful, but when I got this plant, I was still new to plants. I didn't quite know what I was doing. So I'm going to fill the rest of this up with soil, and then this plant will be done. This is its new repotted pot. It is beautiful. It is glowing. It's in there. That looks much healthier, way more roomier. She's done. Now the question remains for this plant. Do I even attempt to put it in here after the hassle I just went through to get the other plant out? I am short on pots, so I'm probably going to, but what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to just really monitor it as it grows in here. And if I start to see any of the roots start to touch the bottom of the glass, then I will be taking it out. I'm moving on, pretty much the same exact process. Put a little soil in first. Alright, got the soil in there. We'll be putting this little guy in there. Some of these plants do actually have like names. This guy right here, this big guy right here, this one's actually named Delilah. All my other plants have names, and I don't know. I think the reason why most of these don't have names is they were all like newer plants. So maybe while I'm here with you, maybe I should name them. This one kind of looks like a Rex, like R-E-X, Rex. I feel like I should name my spider plant Darth Vader. What do you think? That looks like a Darth Vader. All over the place, doesn't know what it wants with its life. I think I could actually like do this over a bigger pot so it will catch it. So yeah, essentially I just kind of like loosen up the soil very gently with one of my fingers, very gently. And then as I do that too, I can kind of feel like how wet or dry the soil is. Because when I repot them, they, you know, in case they need to be rewatered, or not rewatered, but just watered in general. This specific plant has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 current leaves that it is growing all at the same time. Now, when I take this plant out, I want you to see the way that it grew, because I received this as just like a clipping, like I said, from one of my coworkers, and the way that it got clipped made it grow really weird. But this is how I received it as a clipping. It was clipped like this, like sideways. So when it was growing sideways like this for some reason. So I had to like makeshift it, which is why the roots kind of look kind of weird. I had to makeshift it to sit up in the container so that it looked like a normal plant, because when I got it, it was like laying down for some reason. It's just how the person cut it. All right, here's little Rex. Actually looks beautiful in this container. Next, I was thinking I could take this money tree with the container or the pot that it's in, and I was thinking I could put this little guy in this container. It's like the same shape of a container, but as you can see, it is a little bit taller. So I was thinking maybe I would transfer it into that one. So I guess first things first, I have to take this one out and put it into a container in order to put this one into that container. I have this empty container, and I think I will put this one in here. It's about the same height, but it is much wider. So it is still an upgrade nonetheless. Both of them don't have any sort of way for the water to drain. So that is why I'm putting this one in here, because it has been thriving in a container that doesn't need any sort of drainage. The soil that came with this plant is like a, I don't know how to describe it, almost like a bark material, maybe like mulching material. So I'm gonna try to salvage as much of that as I can, just because it seems to be thriving in that. So I'm gonna try to use as little of this as I can. My dog, she's behind me, she's being loud. She has, like I said, some sort of obsession when I'm planting with the soil, and she tries to like go under me and eat it. This stuff is like very dry. I'm gonna actually try to mix it in with the Miracle-Gro soil, because the Miracle-Gro soil is kind of like more of a moist soil. So I'm gonna mix as I go. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it was definitely a little bit root bound, but what I find most interesting is they actually taped it, Home Depot, taped it together. It's still trying to recognize my face, sorry. Taped it together with electrical tape at the bottom. That's very interesting. Boom. I'm gonna save the rest of this for the top. I'm gonna put Miracle-Gro in here. I'm gonna dump this in. That way there can be like a nice mixture. I kind of want to call this one Jar Jar Binks. Okay, so I got this here. The current one that it's in does have water drainage, and this one does not. So I'm a little skeptical about that. My other option is I got this plant right here that's in the same container, just bigger. And so I could put it in that. I might have to repot Delilah next, just so that I can put this in the container that Delilah's in, because I think it makes more sense. This one is the only other like quote unquote big pot that I have, and these two are like the only quote unquote big pots that I have left. This one has drainage, this one doesn't. So I'm gonna put Delilah in this one because this one has drainage in it. So since this has been the garbage one, I'm just going to make this the new garbage one. So sorry if this video feels like really random and really like all over the place, but welcome to my life. Okay, so I'll put this one in here then, since this one I actually gave it drainage since it's plastic. I just took a drill and I drilled holes in it. This one I've been wanting to repot for a while. Not that it's necessarily outgrowing, but like if you look really closely to the soil, like kind of looks really nasty. If my camera stops recording again when I'm in the middle of the story, I'm gonna throw it against the wall. Just kidding, I'm not. That's really aggressive, but low-key I kind of want to. I'm just putting right now the old soil that was with this plant into its new container, essentially. This one actually wasn't root bound at all, so it came out really easily. So maybe it didn't need to be repotted, but from the size of it, I feel like it did need to be repotted. At least it's keeping me from something we have to do in the future. Oh. Alright, this little guy's repotted in this plant. Kind of hard to see because it's big, but now I want it to get bigger and bigger and bigger, hopefully. Alright, next is by far my favorite plant. Just making sure the drainage hole is actually unclogged. It's like filled with dirt. Not that that probably matters. Okay, guys, drainage hole. So literally it's the exact same container. Just one is substantially bigger. That's where that's going to be going. This one is like my pride and joy plant that I like to rave about because somehow it is thriving miraculously. And I feel like I'm doing everything and anything that you're not supposed to do with this plant. That might come out wrong, but for some reason it seems to be, for the most part, working. Because I had a humidifier in the room. I tried to get it more, when I first got this plant, I tried to give it more humidity because it said it needs a lot of humidity. I tried giving it more sun, this and that, everything that like it said that I needed. Did all that, and it seemed like it was starting to damage the plant. And ever since, I've just been like having it sit on my dresser in like an area where it gets like 0 to no sun for like the past 4 months. When I first got it, it was 1 leaf, and now it's this many leaves. But when I was doing everything and everything properly per the instructions of like the app I use, it didn't seem like it was putting out any leaves at all. For like months, it didn't put out any leaves. And so now it's been putting out a whole bunch of leaves ever since, even though it should be in like a dormant season because of how it's been, but it's still growing more leaves, so I don't really know what's going on. Okay, little Legolas here. So a lot of the old soil in here happens to have a lot of like little cut up pieces of bark, it looks like. So I'm gonna try to get some of those in this current soil, just so that it keeps the current environment that it's in, so it doesn't go through too much of a shock with like a different soil. It's really crazy to see a lot of the plants, like now that I'm like really into plants, a lot of the plants that have a lot of leaves seem to have, from what it looks like, less roots. I don't know. Like I'm expecting them to have all these crazy roots for all of this, and for the most part they normally don't. So maybe this one will. That'd be cool. Seems like it doesn't really feel very root bound. I'm just going to try to take it out of here. See what happens. It's coming out right away, so it's not root bound. This is how small the roots are. And there's like a lot of dirt clumped on, so they're even smaller than what it looks like. But for example, look how small this is. I was expecting way more roots, so it wasn't even close to being root bound because this is how much soil is still left in here, like pretty much half a container. But it's misleading because the plant is huge, so I really thought it was root bound, and come to find out it wasn't at all. But now that I put it in a new container, I did want a container that was higher up because the leaves were starting to like, the bottom of the leaves were starting to hit the dresser that I had it on, which is why like some of like these bottom leaves are a little bit like, they need to be propped up more. So now they can be propped up more. It also, in this pot, it started to like lean forward a little bit. Normally I'd be like, oh, that's because of the position of the sun or whatever. It's leaning towards the sun. But no, there wasn't any sun. There's no sun in my bedroom. So it's okay. The little guy, you know, he's not straight. And that's fine because I'm not either. This one, I almost feel like I might need to pack down the soil a little because it feels like it's like very fragile. Like it could just fall over. So I'm attempting to pack down the soil a little bit, hopefully. Maybe that's why it was leaning in the other container, you know? Maybe it just needed to be packed down a little bit more when I initially planted it. Okay, Legolas is done. That's what it looks like. Boom, that looks way more presentable compared to the teeny tiny little thing it was in. Alright, from the looks of it, we only have 1 plant left to repot. Oh, I lied, 2 plants. After sitting here for a little bit, I do recall that I did name this one. I believe I named this one Luke. So I already have an Anakin, and this one is Luke. I'm gonna have to be putting Luke, because right now Luke is in this beautiful, beautiful container. And I really do not want to take it out of it because it's beautiful. I'm gonna be putting it in this because it's like a little bit bigger than it. That's what I'm going to be putting it in. I noticed like I don't have any sort of rhyme or rhythm for like when I pick out pots and planters. I kind of just go for what's cheapest. But when I get like brand new plants, I'm really excited. I'll get like something more expensive like this. That's why a lot of like my bigger plots are like plastic and cheap looking because, I mean, when you first get a plant, you're really excited, so you get like something expensive, and then as they start to get bigger, they're like, you're used to them, and you're like, yeah, they can just kind of get put in whatever makes them happy. As far as fertilizing goes for my plants, I really don't do a whole lot. I just buy soil that has fertilizer in it, so that if I ever do repot them, they get the fertilizer that way. Otherwise, I will give them I will take boiling water, I'll put vegetables in the boiling water, and then I drain out the vegetables, and then I use that remaining water, obviously let it cool down to room temperature so it's not scalding hot anymore. And then I use that quote unquote like vegetable water, and I, like once a month or whatever, give it to my plants, and that's supposed to give them enough nutrients as to where you don't have to buy any sort of expensive fertilizer. I do have an expensive fertilizer. All right, here's this one. This one was just a tiny bit root bound. I'm gonna attempt to show you without making too much of a mess. This is what the bottom looked like. Maybe you can see, maybe you can't. Some roots sticking out. So a little bit root bound, but not too bad. I do plan on, in the future, making an actual like plant video of all my plants. And I do want to wait till like maybe summer, springtime, because that's when I tend to purchase most of my plants at the nurseries that I go to. I think I have maybe about 40 plants now. Really not a whole lot. I would like to have maybe closer to 60. That would make me really happy, but it can become an expensive hobby. So that's where it can go wrong. All right, Luke is done. That's what you look like. All right, so here are the succulents I was telling you about. This is the little guy, unfortunately, that did pass away. He is still in there because I did try to do a rescue mission on him and save them. As you can tell, the overwatering that I accidentally did had no effect on these little guys. But it did have an effect on him, so I'm going to be taking him out, and I'm going to be putting my tiger jaws in there. I'm going to attempt to take this out without poking and prickling myself, so that'll be interesting. Considering how dead it is, hopefully I don't really have to worry about damaging the roots, but hopefully I can just get them all out. I would like to maybe possibly get some of the soil that it's in out and put in new soil in that area. All right, gonna grab my little garbage container I've been using, and this is, it's like Doritos. Oh, and luckily a lot of the roots, some of them came out. There's a poor little guy. Get him in there. I'm gonna try to take out some of this soil because it still has like his roots. But what's hard is I don't want to damage any of the other plants I have in here, so I have to be very careful. And I don't have like specific succulent soil that I put in here. I've just been watering them per the instructions of the app that I've been using, and they seem to be thriving doing that. I do have like this red like moss stuff. I have like this red moss stuff that I put on top. I think that kind of soaks up some of the extra water, but I'm not entirely sure. I pretty much just got it for aesthetics. If I was a new plant and somebody put me in my new home and it was filled with another like dead guy, I'd be very traumatized. So I'm trying to get all the other plants out of here. This little guy I'm a little bit worried about because he's got like these spikes on him. And I'm a little bit worried about how I'm going to take him out of here without hurting myself. Oh, I guess they don't really hurt. Okay, they don't really hurt, so I'm happy, but that's good. Though, luckily I can just like squeeze this because it's like in there. This is the arm I was talking about earlier. When I bought this arm, which I didn't know, was already detached. The way that they like set it up is they like just set it in there nicely like this. So when I bought it, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. And then come to find out, yeah. All right, I got this guy in its new home. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching me repot some of my best friends. I'll probably sit here for a little while and just live in this jungle. No, I won't. Thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate it. I hope you like some of the plants that you see. If you like this video, make sure that you like it, like actually like it, so that I know, so that I can make more plant videos. But I'm gonna go be putting all these guys back and finding new homes for them. And wow, not new homes, but like new homes in my home for them now that they are in their new condos. Oh, I just realized I never named this little guy right here. I'm not really quite sure what to name him, but none of my succulents have names, so he might just remain nameless.